Banderacon Captain's Log, Shadowrun Dragonfall. Part 2 of this little mini series of Shadowrun. Dragonfall for me is the best of the three. It is much the same as Shadowrun Returns in overall gameplay, other than they've added an armor mechanic, which was nice. Kind of not too far. Again, I base everything off XCOM, but I kind of feel XCOM really did break ground on that. It's got an armor mechanic where, you take hits, and if the damage is underneath that, it'll strip the damage away from it, and you can have certain weapons that chip the armor away and make the person more vulnerable. The game actually starts off with a boss encounter with somebody who's just armored to the tits, and you can do very little about it. That's not the important part. Dragonfall has probably one of the tightest game scripts and stories that I've played in a game like this. Now, you are playing a character in this game. I remember the previous game, you were playing a character, but it really was kind of whoever you wanted them to be. No. In this case, you are the now recently appointed head of a group of Shadowrunners who've just lost their leader in a botched raid where they watched them die in front of their eyes. And you are left in possession of, as I remember it, well, let's just say you have a plot device, and shit's about to get real toasty. In, I think it's Germany, Kreuzhaber, something like that. Basically, you live in a neo-anarchic state, which basically everyone manages everything between themselves. There's no real centralized government. Again, anyone who's played Shadowrun is going to absolutely tear me a new one. Be gentle. I'm trying to describe the game as I remember it. And I did play it 7 years ago. The story for this game, I'm kind of leaning towards Firewatch here. I'm not going to spoil a lot of it because the plot... It's not even necessarily the plot per se, but it is elements of it which I will leave out. So, as I explained in my first... in Shadowrun Returns, dragons are a big fucking deal. In Shadowrun, they are enormous, ferociously intelligent, powerful beyond the means of normal mortals. They are magicians who've been around since before the world as we know it existed, and they have survived the previous apocalypses of the horrors, which I also mentioned, coming into our world. Well, most of them have, and have a vested interest in trying to avoid it happening again, at least the ones who care. In this one, we talk about what happens when a dragon goes down. And, well, again, that's something that happens along the line. Basically, at some point, a dragon called Feuersfinge, which is, I think, Firewing, German, I probably butchered the translation, laid waste to a large part of Germany and was taken down by a man who I believe got the nickname of Dragon Slayer. He killed it in an airjet using some kind of special astral warhead. Again, something you find out about later. And basically, the plot revolves around more or less, holy shit, that dragon isn't dead, and there's in fact worse things going on, and comes to a really, really nice head involving an AI if you made some particularly bad decisions like myself. But the point of this story, in my opinion, isn't about the overarching plot. It's about the relationships that you have in the game with your runners, which can change depending on how you do things. Much like the conversations you should have in Normandy between missions on Mass Effect, my favourite part of this game really was talking to the characters after a run and seeing what they thought. And if I remember correctly, the game did that thing that I like where when you talk to someone, it wasn't like, oh, well, I wasn't on that run, I can't talk to you, I guess you'll just have to play the game again. No, as I remember it, everyone was on the run, and they would each give you their opinion of the run, even if you didn't get to play as them. And again, that's the best part where the dialogue is at its finest, and every character you have has their own little loyalty mission a la Mass Effect 2, where you get to learn about the sort of the core of their character and what drives them, the reason they are who they are and how they are, and then you also get to put your own little spin on it, whether they let go of the wounds of the past or whether they rip them open and bathe in them and become the worst versions of themselves. And it's great. I mean, not being funny, I love games like that on their own. I love dialogue, I love good character, and I like feeling like I'm actually involved in a team or a group, or I'm actually part of the world. And it does that. Even just your team alone, but then you get to explore, I'm going to say Kutsar, but I'm probably wrong. Anyway, you explore the overworld, you get to interact with people, you get to make choices on how things work. One of them is spending a little extra money at the local, as I remember, Metahuman Homeless Charity, which comes to a nice head near the end where everything goes to absolute shit. And the game doesn't pull punches. People die. Bad things happen. I mean, I was responsible for probably some things that would be really bad. I mean, fucking like I got tricked by an AI who's now running loose around the web. I killed a dragon, who I later found out was, even though having a bit of a bad day at the time, was actually one of the nicest and most compassionate dragons that ever did exist, even though she torched most of Germany. And then I went to work for another dragon at the end, because God knows that game has one of the most perfect endings in terms of just bringing you right back in for another go. Anyone who's played Shadowrun knows the number one rule of a Shadowrunner is don't make a deal with dragons. Don't make deals with dragons. They will always come out on top. They always know the angle, and they've known it probably before you were born. Well, I did both. I also got deceived by an AI. Realistically, I'm spitting in the wind here. The game is fantastic because of the writing. If it wasn't, it'd just be another Shadowrun Returns, which was nice enough as it was, but it really does overshadow it in every single way worth knowing. The gameplay, roughly the same. Armor mechanic was nice. I think they've tweaked some numbers. You get to make your own character and play them how you want, but again, your teammates are kind of their own archetypes. There's one who's like a Chrome Warrior, Steel Ninja, whatever the fuck. Basically, two great big Wolverine claws on both arms and a huge set of mechanical pistons. So she can just tear ass, but she's also the team medic. You've got a drone rigger who I didn't really like him, to be perfectly honest. Didn't like his character, didn't like his gameplay, but whatever. And you had a troll soldier who was just a monster with a shotgun and a sniper rifle. Probably one of my absolute frontliners / backliners when I had the chance. I enjoyed the shaman as well. Ironically, he picked the Dragon Slayer class just like I did, or the subtype for the shaman. I think he was also part Fizz Adept, I can't remember. It doesn't matter. Listen, I know I said it about Shadowrun Returns, but Dragonfall is the best of the three. It's the best of its kind so far, and again, you can get it cheap. I would absolutely say get it at full price, as and whenever the fuck you can. And just play it, and that's going to be my call to action. Go read some more Shadowrun stuff, play Dragonfall, come back to me in 15 hours and tell me it's amazing. Anyway, Banderacon out.